right, thank you, Dr. Hardy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. I'm super excited to talk to you about Zotero. It is something that I use very often in my own work right now as a librarian, so I'm always very excited to talk to students about this awesome citation management system. So as Dr. Hardy said, my name is Corey Barber. I am the data services librarian here at University Library at IU Indianapolis. Here's my contact information. Feel free if you have any questions after this workshop, or if you want to meet one-on-one just to dive further into using Zotero, feel free to send me an email and we can set up a time to chat either virtually or in person in my office, whichever works better for you. As we're going along, also feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I've got it up and I'm trying to monitor everything as we go along. Also, feel free to unmute yourself if I don't see your chat or if you just want to talk and ask your question out loud. So, um, all right, let's get into it. So today, some of the learning outcomes that we have for this presentation will be for you to understand how, first of all, how to install and open Zotero and use it on your device. We're going to talk about how you can use Zotero to collect references using a single click. I'm going to help walk you through how you can organize your Zotero library, so some different settings that the application has to keep your studies organized. And then we'll move on to talking about citations, how you can add new citation styles, and how you can do citations as you write with plugins with Microsoft Word and Google Docs. And we'll also talk about how you can sync up your library to back everything up, and so you can use it across devices and across platforms. So first off, what is Zotero? Zotero is an open source, meaning a free citation management tool that you can use to collect, organize, annotate, cite, and share your references. So that's one thing that I love about Zotero is that it's 100% free. So a lot of resources, that we have here at IU, you can utilize as a student or as someone that works here. But once you leave the institution, you lose all access to that application without paying for it or creating your own account. However, with Zotero, it's free no matter what for anybody. So after you leave IU Indianapolis, you're still going to have access to everything that was saved in your Zotero library. Now, certain articles, if they were behind a paywall of a journal that like we subscribe to, maybe you won't be able to access and continue to read that without an account or purchasing that article or whatever. But you'll still have all of the reference lists and be able to cite those sources regardless. So here's a comparison chart to some other citation management tools that exist. So you may have heard of these. The three big ones are EndNote, which is a Microsoft product, Mendeley, and then Zotero. I personally have not used either EndNote or Mendeley. EndNote is something that you do have to have a Microsoft account to utilize, so that one is not free. Mendeley is free, but it does cost to have additional storage. Yeah, EndNote was much more popular, I think, back in the day. Yeah. Until Zotero came out, I think, and disrupted that, at least for the classes that I took here at IU Indianapolis, everyone talked about Zotero. Um, yeah, most of these work across Mac, Windows, and iPads or tablet devices. Zotero also works on Linux. If you're one of those people that runs your computer on Linux, I know some person that still does that. And Zotero has a really large storage capacity. So there's 300 megabits of free cloud storage available. I only know one person whose Zotero is so full that it's kind of slowing down at this point. That's my my boss, Jerry Odell. I think he has close to 10,000 items saved in his Zotero, and it still works. It just sometimes is a little slower to load when he first brings it up. All right, and then we're gonna transition into a live demonstration. So let me make sure I share the right screen again. Awesome. Do you see the Zotero website? Awesome. Great. So this is your first stop for getting Zotero is to go to zotero.org. This is how you will download it. And you can also create an account if you have not already created an account. I would suggest you do that first before downloading the application. When you download the application, it doesn't like automatically prompt you to create an account when you first open it. But having the account is what's going to allow you to sync all of your references. So you'll be able to access them wherever you log in. Um, so to first create an account, you'll go to the login button and you'll just register for a free account. And you'll walk through, create your username and your password, and then ta-da, you have a Zotero account. You can go back to the main page after creating your account and then go to download. The Zotero website is going to automatically detect what type of device and what type of browser you have opened this website on. So for me, I'm on a Windows device and I'm on Firefox. So that's why I see this here. If you're loading this website from a Mac and on a different browser like Safari or Google Chrome, yours will look a little bit different, but it's essentially the exact same. So this will be your link to download the application onto your desktop. And then on the right here, this Zotero connector is what's going to be the browser extension that allows you to one-click add your references as you're searching for them in online databases. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you always download the extension. If you use multiple browsers, like I use both Firefox and Chrome. So I have the extension on both of those browsers so that no matter which one I seem to have opened or seems to be working better for me that day or for that article, because, you know, sometimes browsers are weird. But I like to have that backup of having the two different browser extensions so I can add all of my references easily no matter what I'm on. When you're on your browser, your extensions typically live up at the toolbar on the right side. So right here, I have the Zotero extender already added, and I know what it looks like. It can kind of look different depending on the type of page that you have loaded on your browser. So right now it's this icon that kind of looks like a piece of paper. And if I hover over it, you see the drop down says Save to Zotero, web page with a snapshot. If your Zotero extension is not automatically showing up after you download it, you'll have to go to your settings menu. For Firefox, there's this little hamburger that you can choose. And if you go down to extensions and themes, I have to go to extensions. And this is where I have two different extensions on here. I can toggle. Now I've turned Zotero off. As you can see, it has disappeared from up here. So you just want to make sure that your browser extension for Zotero is turned on so that you can see it up here, and that's how you one-click add. You can, if you didn't notice, like you can log into Zotero on the web. So you can use it, like say you're just in the library, using a shared computer, so you're not on your own device, and it does not already have the Zotero app downloaded onto the computer. Most of the computers in the library should have that already, but if they don't, you can always go to the Zotero website and log in that way. You do have some slightly limited functionality on the web version versus the desktop version, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So this is what the website version looks like. And then I will bring up, this is the desktop application. Um, so it looks very similar. Uh, as you can see here, this is my library. These are all of my resources that I have added into my library so far. And then I have all these different folders underneath it and folders within folders. These are different collections that I have made to organize everything. Um, to make collections is really easy. You go up to the library. You can either hit this folder with a plus, that's a new collection. I could title it Grad School Demo and create. And there I have a new collection that now does not have anything added into it yet. You can also right click on the My Library tab and create a new collection that way. If you want to create a sub collection, you right click on the collection that you want to have a subfolder within, and then I can create a sub collection within that collection. You can get really meta and have a sub collection within a sub collection. So that can help you organize things in different way, or for different projects or however, and it can make it easier to then share these collections with other individuals, and create group libraries that way. A lot of the functionality can be done by right-clicking on collections, like renaming them. You can right-click and hit rename and then change the name. Maybe I want it not to be capitalized. I don't know. You can delete the collection if you no longer want it. There's two of these delete options, delete collection and delete collection and the items. So if you just choose delete collection, it's just going to delete the folder, but all of the items that you have added into that folder will remain in your library. But if you choose delete collection and items, it will delete all of the references you added into that collection from your library as well. You can move it under different other collections, copy it to different, I'm part of some different group libraries, so I could copy this collection into a different group. Say I had something in my personal library and I'm working on a group project where we have a group library and I want to add things that I've saved into that group. You can do that by copying it over here. If I back up a little bit and just go back to my library and look at how the resources are laid out, you can see here at the top, we have the different types of fields that are displayed. Title, creator, date added, and then this paperclip is whether there's an attachment or not. You can edit these fields. If you right click on this, you can see there are different options that you could toggle on and off. So if I wanted to have the publisher information, I could click that and the publisher would pop up. If I wanted, you can write notes about your resources for yourself. And if I want my notes to show up, I can click that and you'll see if I have any notes written on things. As you see, I just accidentally clicked the notes button after I added it, and that made all my resources jump around a little bit. So by clicking on the different uh, headings at the top, you can organize your library based on those different headings. So I just clicked the date added once, and so it's showing me the most recent things that I've added, going towards the least recent things I've added. If I click it again, you see this caret changes from pointing down to pointing upwards. So this is going to show me the first things that I ever added into my Zotero library and going farther into the future. So you can do this by title, forwards and backwards, by the creator, or by the date that it was published. So that can help you if you're searching for a resource that you remember. I don't, the creator's first name started with CAR, but what was their full name? You can, toggle with how your library is being displayed to kind of help you find those different items. Or if you're in a collection and you want to make sure, I want to look at the most recent articles first, you can make sure to toggle by date so that you're referencing the most recent literature on that topic. Let's see. I think we can go on if I select an item here. So now it's highlighted. And then you can see on the right-hand side, then all of this metadata, all of this information comes up about that specific resource. So you have the item type, title, author, everything about the publication. This is where it'll be easier to see if there are multiple authors, what all of those authors' names are. You see the DOI, the URL, date accessed, and some other information here, the abstract, if you scroll down. And this is also where you can add notes to show up. Here, if you push the plus button, you can add a note. Here is a note about why this resource is awesome. Oh. You can also add tags to your resources to help you organize and find things. So say this resource is on data literacy. If I wanted to add like a data literacy tag to this, I could add that. I could add oh, if I can spell it, I could enter interdisciplinary. So you can add tags as you want just to help you stay organized. This is just for you. And you can search for things using tags if that helps you. Okay. We can go on to how you can add resources into Zotero. So this is one of the big things. Let me make sure on the right side. That is so helpful about Zotero is if I go to a database, I want to go to, no, I want to go to PubMed. I should have already had this pulled up. I apologize. And let's say I wanted to, just going to do a very random search. Let's search postpartum depression, because I know that's going to turn up a lot. So we see here all of our results on this search for postpartum depression. And now that I'm back on the browser, I have my browser extension for Zotero here at the top. So I told you it can The icon can look a little differently depending on the type of web page that you have currently loaded. And this is a great example of that. Since I am in the search results of a journal database, and I'm having multiple results, so multiple resources are being displayed, my Zotero extension icon looks like a folder. And what's kind of cool about this is I can click on this folder and I could add multiple sources that have shown up in this search at once without having to go into each link individually and add them. So if you did a search that like the first 5 results were like, whoa, these are all really good, I think I can use all of them. This is a very easy way to go through. You can check the exact ones. You could select all, deselect all, whatever. We'll add these 3. And then you see this pop up. If I hit this caret, it'll show more of my library, so I can pick the different collection that I want to add these resources to. If I want to make sure to add it to this test sub collection to my grad school demo collection, I just make sure to highlight that. And then that's where all of these resources should be saved. And I did it too quickly. I was talking about changing the collection, but if I highlight this section of the different resources that were just added, at first they were grayed out and then they turned black. And that's your indication that the save has been successful and it has added to your Zotero library. I should note before I move on, for this one-click add Zotero extension to work in your browser, you do have to have the desktop application open. If you don't have it open, and I can quickly close mine to demonstrate, and you try to click this, you're going to get an error message. It's going to yell at you and it's going to say, you need to open Zotero and try again. So if you ever get that, it's easy fix. You just open the Zotero app. All right. If I click into one of these references, as you can see, my extension icon has changed. It's no longer that folder. It looks like maybe a flat piece of paper with some writing on it. This indicates to me this is probably a journal article. If the reference that I was looking at was a book or a chapter of a book, the icon would kind of look like a little book, etc. So it does kind of change depending on what the resource that is being displayed on your browser is. So that can sometimes at first make it a little tricky to be like, wait, which extender icon is for Zotero? So don't forget that if you hover over your icons, it should pop up which one is Zotero if you hover over it a little bit. And see, that's my other extension. If I hover over it, it tells me what that one is. So again, I just click that Zotero extension. I'm saving it to that test folder, which is where I want it. And then it's turned darker and ta-da, it has saved. So if I go back, now you can see my test folder now is populated with 4 different articles in it. It does look like I added one article 2 times. Oh no, what do you do? One of the cool things that I like about Zotero is down on this left side of where your collections live, there's this option for duplicate items. And this menu will show you all of the items that you have in your entire Zotero library that you've added more than once. So I actually have a couple things that have been duplicated. So this is the reference that I just added a second ago. I can see here the metadata about these items is very similar. Um, I can toggle between the instances that I saved it and see if the metadata is any different. These are all exactly the same because I think they were all added from the exact same journal database. Uh, if they were different, I could select which item I liked the metadata for better. Like, say, one was more robust, had some more information than another one. I'd be able to have that one selected as I hit merge two items, and they're all merged together. So I no longer have a duplicate. Uh, I can do the same thing for these three. The only thing different in the metadata is the date that I accessed it. So I can go ahead and merge those items. And then Zotero has taken care of that for me. So I don't have to worry about having duplicate items. Let's see. So we did an example of adding a citation from PubMed. It's very similar to add citations from website articles, um, from Google Scholar. You can do a Google Scholar search. Postpartum depression. With Google Scholar, you have to be a little bit more cognizant of where is this article located. Like, some of them are behind journal databases that do have a paywall or require you to have um, an account with them of some kind. So you won't necessarily be able to download every single resource from a Google Scholar search. Um, one quick way to kind of see what on the page you can download is to go to that Zotero extender right off the bat, and I can select them all and attempt to save them. And here, as they slowly pop up, you see they're grayed out at first. It's going to try to pull the articles into Zotero if it can, if there's an open access way um, to download those, it will. And then those resources will turn darker as they are downloaded. Okay, I was about to say, whoa, this is a weird search result. Everything is downloading, but we do have a red X now. As you see here, this version is not available for free for open access. Um, Sometimes the results will be then available in a different journal that we do subscribe to. So you just have to go through that journal through your IU login, and you can access it that way. But it's just something to be aware of for um, for when you're using Google Scholar. You can even save like websites, web pages to your Zotero library. Like, here, I just went to nih.gov, and up here, my Zotero extension, I could technically embed the metadata um, from this website. So this does work also for like online newspapers or different articles that are just available not through a journal, but just published on a website, like a newspaper website. You can save those to Zotero as well. If those require an account to access them, they get funky through there. Otherwise, they're easy to add. Um, I will show you, you can add items like through a PDF. I'm trying to see if I can find a resource that I can download a PDF of. Maybe that's not the best. Here. Okay. Let me save this as a PDF. Okay. So now if I bring up my Zotero application, and I bring up Finder, I can go to where I just saved that PDF, which was under my downloads. And this is the easiest way that I find to do this is just to drag and drop PDFs. And it takes it a second, but then it does automatically scrape those PDFs for metadata. So as you can see, it has now brought all of that in. So it changed from, at first it was displaying this NIHMS 760 blah, 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 as the title. And it did that just for a second. And then it retrieved all that metadata and automatically updated the resource to actually display the correct title of the article and have all of that in there. So that's a cool feature for if you can only find a way to access something by downloading the PDF. As long as that PDF is a machine readable PDF and not like a scan that someone has made of a book, there should be embedded metadata that Zotero automatically updates for you. You can get into having to manually add that metadata, like I said, if it's a scan of a book as a PDF instead. But luckily, you can also manually enter items into your Zotero library. There's a couple different options for this. There is literally just clicking this kind of page with a plus sign up here at the top. That's the new item. You just have to select the item type, and it's very important that you select the correct item type, as this greatly affects how the citation turns out. Excuse me. I'm gonna take a drink of water. So it's also something to be aware of just as you're adding things from the website or from the web, like if you're doing that one-click add, just double check that the item types of the things that you're adding is showing up correctly. Like if it's a journal article, it needs to be showing up as a journal article instead of a book. Otherwise, that's going to affect how your citation turns out. But if I selected a journal article to add manually, then I just have to type in here. You have to go through, I mean, each field and manually enter it. It's not the most fun thing to do. This can lead to errors in your citations. So I don't recommend it unless you have no other option. Like if something is a manuscript from an archive, so there is no other like online digital citation for this thing, you have to come up with it on your own. I would say that's kind of the one time that I recommend doing it this way. Even if it's a book that you just physically have, um, I would suggest to look the title of that book up online and find the ISBN or a DOI for something, because you can add things that way a lot easier. For example, let me find something that does have a DOI number. Here we go. So, um, the option next to that, like manual add a record, is like this magic wand looking icon. If you click that, you can paste a lot of different types of items. So ISBNs, DOIs, PMIDs, civ IDs. I'm not even sure what all of these are necessarily personally, but they're different identifiers. And if you type in or paste in that identifier and hit enter, Zotero should be able to scrape the web for that DOI and add it that way. So that's another clever way of adding a record. If you have the DOI for it, it's really quite easy to just copy and paste that in. Uh, Again, it does require it to be open access to view it. Um, this one makes you verify you're a human. Oh, okay. Some cookies. Yeah. So this one brought it up as a website. This is interesting. Different resources will like come up in different ways. Usually if they have an attachment, that means there's a PDF attached to it. So it just opens up as another page of my Zotero library. So I have a few things open already, but I can see it here at the top. This is where I can go in and notate as I'm reading. If I want to highlight something, I can highlight it. If I want to underline it, you can underline in different colors, do all kinds of different things. I can add a sticky note, add a comment to an annotation like reference this. If there's something that you want to make sure you specifically reference, uh, yeah, sometimes it's a little wonky and you can like add notes where you don't need them, but if you select the note, that's an easy way to, oh my God, to delete it if you no longer want it. So you can always do that as well. If I want to remove an item, you can right click on that item. There's the different options. There's remove item from this collection, and then there's move item to trash. So if you move the item to trash, it's going to be completely deleted from your entire library. If you select remove item from collection, it's only going to be removed from that folder, but it's going to remain in that greater My Library section. So that's just something to be aware of. You could also from here, from the right click menu, add it to a different collection if you wanted to duplicate it in another space that you have organized. You can do that. From that right-hand menu, you can also create a bibliography from this item. So this is how you can create a citation or a bibliography reference. When you first select that, it's going to pop up for you to select which citation style you're using. So you can see here they've got a list of styles. There's even more styles that they have if you go to this Manage Styles button, and you can then you have to get additional styles. And then this pops up and you can search, I mean, for all different kinds of citation styles. There is so many available. Um, I'm going to assume most people know which one that they need to work with, or your professors tell you which style to use for your assignment. So you should be aware of what you're doing. What to do? Okay, I got into a weird section. Okay, if I go back to create bibliography from item, I use APA for my writing style. So I make sure I select APA style. The seventh edition is what they're currently in. Usually these auto update to, the most recent edition that these main citations are using. Um, you see here for output mode, there are two options. There's the bibliography, and there's the citations. So the citations is going to be for an in-text citation. That's going to be for APA in parentheses, the author name and date, etc., that you add to the end of the sentence that you are using to reference that. The bibliography is going to be the actual bibliography record that you add at the end of your reference list. So you just select whichever one you're wanting in that moment. There are different output methods. I'm kind of basic, and I always would use copy to clipboard. That way it just copies it, and I can go into Word and paste it from there. That's how I did it before I realized that there's actually a cite as you write integration with Microsoft Word. So it makes it actually even easier and not even this complicated to do. So if I go to files, no, I'm sorry. It's always in a weird place. For some reason in Zotero, settings is under edit. That literally always trips me up. And I use Zotero all of the time. I don't know why it's under edit when every other application has that under files, but for Zotero, your settings are under edit. That's fun. Um, and here you have, some general settings that you can play around with. This sync is where you would make sure you're logged into your account um, to make sure that your library is syncing. But if I'm here on the site settings, if I scroll down, you see here at the end word processors. So this is where you can install your add-ins. And there's also one for Google Docs, but that should be brought up in the web page if you have Zotero installed on your application in your desktop. Anyway, I already have the Microsoft add-in installed. Otherwise, it would say here, install Microsoft Word add-in. So if you bring this up for the first time and you don't already have that automatically installed, you would select that. It does also work for LibreOffice if anybody uses that. But as long as you have that plugin installed, then when you bring up a Word document, I'm sorry, my Zoom menu is getting in the way of the Word menu. So here at the top of Word, I have this option that is called Zotero. So you will only see this if you have the Word plugin installed into your device. So if you have brought Word up, you don't have that, you don't see that, you need to go into your Zotero settings and add that. And then once you get into that, that's how you can do in-text citation or cite as you write. And it'll automatically like update your bibliography for you. So I'm just gonna do some basic paper. I am writing a research paper. Here it is. Okay. Just putting in some basic formatting so that this makes somewhat sense to you guys. All right. So here, if I'm doing my references, actually, the easiest way to do this is if you start with an in-text citation. So I click this add/edit citation button, and this window pops up. It's asking me the style. It does this usually the first time you open it. that day, or since Word has been opened, it'll, pop this up to ask you. So you just make sure you select your citation style. And then I select OK. And the joys of multi-screens, everything's opening on another screen, but I'll drag it over. Okay, so this window then pops up. And this has my different Zotero resources in there. This is essentially a search of my Zotero library. So it's bringing up some recent items I think that I've added. I can also search for items, say, I know I have something in here written by Heather Coates. So if I know the name of the author or the name of the resource, you can search that way. If I want to add the citation, I click on the reference, and then here I see this is what kind of like a preview of what the citation would look like. I can right click, no, just left click on it. And this will bring up some options of if I wanted to add a page number, say I'm, citing something from a very specific page and I want to cite that it's from page 600. I can select that to have that added to my in-text citation. There's also this box to check that you can omit the author. If you have already referenced the author's name earlier in that sentence, so you don't need it in the citation, you can check that box, and then the author's name will not show up. It doesn't look like anything has happened yet, but if I hit enter, doodly doo, magic, and Zotero has automatically put in that citation for me. Without the author's name, because I did select to omit that, I can say, Coates said this is cool. Boom. All right, so I've added my first in-text citation. Have you encountered any conflict? Okay, we have a question in the chat. I noticed that you have both plugins for Zotero and EndNote in Microsoft Word. Have you encountered any conflicts or issues with having both? I just have used EndNote for this concern, but it's cool to know you could have both. Yeah, I think the EndNote plugin is just automatically included in Word since it's another Microsoft product. But yeah, I've never run into any issues using the Zotero plugin. But then again, I really have not utilized EndNote. Maybe especially not since updating this computer recently to Windows 10. But I don't think that you should have any problems with it. Yeah. Okay. So I've added my first in-text citation and I'm ready to add the bibliography record for that. Since I've already added a citation, it's super easy and I just hit this button to add/edit a bibliography. And it automatically pulls in all of the references that I've already cited and creates the bibliography record for it. It's going to automatically alphabetize it for you, format it correctly. As you can see, I've got the hanging indent and all of that going on. So it automatically formats and does that for you. Copying and pasting the bibliography record does not do stuff like that for you. So that's why I really love the cite while you write function here. I think since I've jabbered on so long, we only have 10 minutes left of this section. I want to make sure I have time for any questions. If anyone has any burning questions or some functionality that they want me to go back and show again if you were unclear. Feel free to unmute or to put in the chat if you have anything. Okay, I don't see anything coming in, so I'm just going to touch on, I talked earlier that you can have shared libraries or group libraries. The kind of funky thing about that is I've said like the desktop application for Zotero has the most functionality, but weirdly, you have to create a group on the website. So if you go to the Zotero website and you're logged in, at the top menu here, there's an option for groups. You can go here, and as you see, I'm in a member of a few different groups. And here you can create a new group. You just have to come up with a group URL name. Um, as you, I create a lot of test groups. So we'll create another one. You can choose if it's a public group, meaning anyone can view this library. So a lot of open access projects, or like I know a lot of librarians do this, where we create these different shared libraries and we make it completely publicly available for anyone that wants to view it. There's closed membership where you have to, anyone can view the group online, but members must apply or be invited to actually access the library. And then there's private, where no one can even preview it online, and only people that you invite to join um, are a part of it. So I can choose a private membership. Say I'm doing something for a research project for school, for class. I'm going to create a private group. Um, I don't know, just personally. And then you hit create group. Again, you can change the group type here, and who can read the items, who can edit what's in the library, and who can edit the files. So you can change these settings. If you're in a big group and you only want certain administrators to be able to edit files, you can make some admins. Otherwise, you click save, and that creates the group. Yeah, it never changes. The site doesn't change when you hit save. It always makes me think that nothing has happened. Um, but it has saved. And I think if you go back to the group settings, I always forget how I add members. Oh, member settings. And I can send invitations. It's like kind of cumbersome to find. You kind of have to click around on different settings to find it. Yeah, but it is fairly intuitive if you're an inquisitive person and like just clicking on links and seeing where they take you. But then you can enter either someone's Zotero username or the email that they use to create their account, to invite members that way. If there aren't any other questions, I'm gonna drop my email again in the chat just in case, if anyone, you don't want to ask your question here, but you want to follow up later, personally with me, uh, you're welcome
Hey,
to do so.
I had a
Yep.
quick question. I also want to share our evaluation link too. But
Oh, this next
I
one.
have a question about um the library resources and how logging into the library resources, because I know you can have access to more um articles that way.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't know how aware folks are of like interlibrary loan. So can we also talk a little bit or share that too?
Sure. Let me go back to sharing my screen. I brought this up. I put this link in the chat. We do have a LibGuide all on Zotero that kind of walks through everything that I said today. I think this video is a little outdated. I'm working on getting an updated one. Uh, but okay. If I go to our main library page, um, you have some options of how you can search for resources. So we have IUCAT. that you can search, which is our library catalog. There's one search, which is kind of searching all of the resources that we have available, all of UL's university libraries, databases, and IU's catalog. So this will get you like books, ebooks, journal articles, news articles, etc., across multiple topics. You can also go to the databases A to Z list, and this will show you all the databases that we have access to through IU. You can filter them by subject, by database type. Um, say, if you're looking for data and statistics specifically, that would be one that you can change to look for a data and statistics database. Most of these, if you are physically located on campus and you access these links to these databases, you'll automatically like be logged in through IU's IP address, and it'll recognize you as an IU user. So you'll have access that way when on campus. If you are not on campus, a lot of these, when you first click the link, it'll bring you up to enter your IU credentials to log in. And that is a way that you can access those as well. I'm not sure if I select one. I'm not on campus, so it might ask me. Yep, see, it does ask me here to log in. So you've got like the different options. As a student, you would always click the IU Indianapolis ID. And I've already logged in today, so it didn't have me log in again. But it would pop up, how you log into Canvas. It would be that same way. If you haven't logged in recently, you'd have to do a duo push and all that. Um, but otherwise, that's how you access those remotely or when you're not on campus. And then interlibrary loan was the other option. And that is under the borrowing menu.
Oh,
We
Corey, we got
have,
a question in the
yeah.
chat. Are
Oh, thank
all
you.
IU digital libraries integrated, in particular the journal access?
Like between campuses, is that what they mean?
I think that that's the question. Gary, is that
Yeah, yeah, that's between the campus. So, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I really wish that they were.
Okay.
But the campuses sometimes have um, different contracts with vendors. So like IU Bloomington um, subscribes to some databases that IU Indianapolis does not subscribe to.
Hmm.
So that is the weird part of it is they are sometimes campus specific, although we do subscribe to a lot of the same things. Uh, yeah,
but
but
that's
you do
also
have
the joy of interlibrary loan.
exactly. Oh, which that link doesn't work. Is that true? We're doing updates to the website, so I think things are getting funky. Okay, that was weird. Okay, when I was on the database, it didn't work, but when I was on the home screen, or the library home, you go to the borrowing menu and there's interlibrary loan. So there are kind of a couple different ways really to submit that a request for an interlibrary loan. And I do apologize. It's been a minute since I've done this, and I'm not usually the person who talks on ILLs for the library. You put me on the spot, Dr. Hardy. No, it's okay. So if anyone really like has questions about this, reach out to me if you're having problems, you are wanting to request something via interlibrary loan. But my understanding is if you've like searched using one search or IUCAT and you're like at the catalog entry, there is a pretty easy way to request like a book from IU Bloomington if they have it and we don't have it. Um, you can also search for articles. So we do articles on demand as well. So that's another option. I think you put in the title or DOI here and you can search it. I could, if I go to our directory, I will point out, oh, what is Satoria's last name? Here she is, Satoria Tomberlin. She works with our ILLs a lot. So if you have any questions, she'd be a great person to reach out to to help you get that submitted. And then the help desk, the people at the front desk can always help you as well.
Nice, Kayla. Thanks so much, Corey, for this
Yeah.
session. We really appreciate it. Tomorrow we have a session with our folks from for the Center of Teaching and Learning on creating a teaching statement. So if you have an interest in that, we're going to drop that in the chat also. And this session is recorded, so we will upload it to our YouTube page within the next few days. Thanks, everybody. Make sure that you complete the evaluation as well. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everybody.
See ya.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Dr.
you.
Hardy. Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
You too now.